This video is about your foot. To be more precise, about a Hallux Valgus, a bunion, that is, and also a bit about heel spurs. And I'm going to tell you things you probably have never heard like this. Simple connections that make it easy to understand that you should not be worried about a bunion because I can explain in detail how to avoid one. Conventionally, people talk about genetic disposition, weak connective tissue, or that it runs in the family, or it's the shoes that are too tight. But people wearing comfy shoes also develop bunions. So there's theories abound, but for me and us here at Liebscher Bracht, they only have little to do with the reality. How do bunions develop? This is a foot seen from below. By the way, the red spots are the same ones we use for our osteopressure therapy. Just so you know, this is the big toe, and this joint here, over the course of time, moves outwards. Whether it's pushed or pulled, we'll discuss in a minute. It inches outwards, this bunion here, as it is commonly known. But how can this Hallux Valgus develop? Because this bone here, this joint here, moves outwards into this direction. And that can only happen if something pulls it into this direction. Only if this spot is being pulled out by something. Now, you need to know that in our foot, in the arch of our foot, in its sole, we have a lot of muscles and tendons and fascia, with the plantar fascia as the biggest one. All these structures can be found in here. When we start walking, we roll off our big toes. And when we do that, a lot of forces come into play. And when we walk kind of lopsided, well, what do I mean by lopsided? These days, we normally walk on level ground most of the time, not uphill or downhill, where the toes are spread occasionally. But our feet only move a little bit when we walk on smooth surfaces as opposed to outdoor terrain, and that has consequences. And the result we observe is that particularly this cord, which runs from the heel bone all the way down here, is under mounting tension, pulls harder, becomes shorter, and can yield less and less. And eventually, this bone, the metatarsal bone, is pulled outwards simply because it gives in to this pull. Your toe stays, only this moves away, and then surgery is recommended to reset everything. These are steps I would only take if nothing else seems to help and the situation has become really bad. I suggest something totally different. I suggest relieving this strong pull that has developed through walking on smooth, level surfaces without being corrected. That this excessive pull that has set in, that we normalize it. What does that mean? That you need to stretch this very cord. So when you're troubled by a bunion, start to stretch this cord and it will stop being pulled out. It'll stay as it is. If you're lucky, it might even move back. But at any rate, it stops there and won't get worse because there's no force that pulls it out any longer. And if you want to try and do the appropriate exercises, you could find some over there, and then you could expect that over a series of months, not quite as fast, but in the course of a few months or even 1 or 2 years, the situation will reverse, and at the same time, it could be that a heel spur that normally comes up here on the inside, that this heel spur becomes less painful or even goes back. Actually, the heel spur here on this heel bone is at the other end of all this tensed up cord because the tensions run from here to there. Because it pulls the bone outwards, and there it pulls on the heel bone too, only that the heel doesn't move, but you develop this little bump called a heel spur. If you don't want to do the exercise right away because you haven't quite understood the process, I urgently recommend using our pain reliever from the osteopressure set to press on the areas here where you can feel the tensions. Or go to one of our therapists for some osteopressure therapy because after a few minutes, your pain from the bunion or the heel spur will be lessened, and then, at the latest, you'll realize what you can do and you'll do it. So, to sum it up, anyone who hasn't got a bunion yet doesn't need to get one. And no heel spur either. That was just a little side issue. How can you avoid that? By doing the right exercises that reduce the tension here, with stretching exercises that keep everything flexible so that the acting forces don't become too excessive. In case you already have a bunion, then do the same exercises, and chances are really good that the whole situation will develop back, but at any rate, you could stop it and prevent it from becoming worse. That much is certain. The rest is a question of time, your physical shape, and other factors that decide how fast or slow this process will be. If you've liked this video or my explanations, or if you've already had experience with bunions and tackled the problem the way we suggested and you were successful, then help us to share this video, spread the information, and, above all, tell all those people who are worried about their bunions getting bigger but don't want any surgery that there's a solution they can try out. I'd be very happy about a thumbs up. You can find our exercise videos up there, and down there, you could subscribe to our channel. See you soon.